This is going to be a look at what I think is an underutilized concept in the Ravens offense. It's a pistol RPO. I will show about 6 or 7 plays. I have more examples of it. We did use it some in 2021. I feel like it specifically suits the Ravens personnel in 2022. And I think it kind of addresses something that a lot of us fans, some more intensely than others, identify as an issue in terms of Patrick Ricard being a tendency of where we run the ball, directional tendency, not just run pass tendency, but directional tendency. And I feel like the Ravens have tried to do some things to address the directional tendency, but I think the performance by Foye Oluokun in the Jags 28-27 win kind of shows you the tendencies that are there. I did a video on him that not a lot of Ravens people watched, but you should watch it. Look at the end zone angle because it's generally what I tried to show, and look at the pre-snap communication that Foye Oluokun was pointing out to his teammates. Of course, I don't know what he was saying, but he was generally pointing at a key that would take the players to the football, or he was pointing to the direction where the run was getting ready to go. So this pistol RPO is going to come generally out of a set like this, and I will show this play twice. I'll show it here in the beginning, and I'll show it at the end. This is Mark Andrews' fumble. I'll let it run a couple of times while I talk through the intro a little bit. At one time, a pistol RPO was rarely seen, at least for me. I'm talking 15, 18 years ago, and just so you know my background, the school that I attended and where I originally started coaching was a run-and-shoot school in the late 80s, early 90s. So you're talking about a huge outlier compared to the offenses that were around at that time. As a coach, being involved or exposed to the spread in terms of what we ran and what other teams ran, I didn't see a lot of pistol RPO. I didn't see it in the college film that we watched. We were kind of hooked up with West Virginia and their run early in the 2000s, meaning we would go and watch spring practices. We had a lot of film of them, and we had a lot of communication with some of their assistant coaches who recruited kids, that we had or that were in our area. We didn't see a lot of pistol RPO. That's my reason for describing some of that to you. We saw a lot of RPO where the running back is on the one side of the quarterback or the other, and then he's crossing the quarterback's face. You still didn't see a whole lot of it up till 10 or 12 years ago. And with the Ravens' tendencies when Ricard is on the field, I feel like this is a great opportunity to run some plays out of a formation that is balanced. Now, this is generally going to be a right-handed football play, okay, just so you know. And I'll start breaking it down here in a moment. This is generally going to be a right-handed football play. However, the counter or the complementary play to it, I guess I should say, is one of our best concepts. It's the counter wind back, where the running back goes to one side of the quarterback, in this case Lamar, and then veers back to the opposite side, usually behind Ricard and one or two pulling linemen. We can accomplish this without Ricard being on the field, and we can have 2 receivers and 2 tight ends on the field. I don't disagree that there are some things we can get accomplished in 12 personnel that would be similar to our 21 or 22 personnel. I don't disagree with that. We've got to be able to execute them. I feel like this is a concept that stretches the defense horizontally. Yeah, this is a fumble by Mark Andrews. Like, you can get lost in that if you want to. I've already addressed it in another video. Like, I'm not going to waste time, rehashing that. I'm talking about the horizontal stretch and the ability to stretch vertically. Horizontal with Andrews threatening. I think it looks like you got a snag that Demarcus Robinson is running, that he's not really running the route. I think he knows he's not getting the football. And then the wheel to Prochet, which has been one of the tells for this play, is that Prochet goes in motion from left to right. We're generally not running this play to the opposite side. Why? Because Lamar's right-handed. He would have to open to this side, and then to pick, someone to throw to, he would have to flip his hips, and you have to kind of give away the direction you're throwing the football. It's a whole lot quicker. It's not that it can't be done. You're just a whole lot quicker throwing the football to this side because you're right-handed. Your hips are already open. Your chest is already pointed in the direction that you want to throw the football. It offers a horizontal and a vertical stretch. I think I said this earlier, that I think it fits our personnel perfectly. And I'll show other examples of it. I'm belaboring it here. But you could use Demarcus Robinson or Deshaun Jackson here, and you'll see a play against the Saints where he runs up the right sideline, runs a go, so that's getting a little bit of the vertical stretch. The horizontal stretch is obviously offered here. But when I say horizontal stretch, I'm not just talking about the pass routes, because this is an RPO. Okay, now whether Lamar's reading it on every iteration that I show you, I don't know. But what I'm saying is you have, in this concept, or in this example of it, a vertical stretch by Prochet, or what could be a horizontal stretch by Andrews, and then the running back is the horizontal stretch to the other side. Personally, I think this should have been a give. If we're really reading it, we're really looking at this DN, this should be a give, and this is possibly a huge gain for Kenyon Drake up to the top side. This linebacker is going to be the guy who, if Lamar hands it off to Drake, would be the last guy in pursuit. Oluwakin is dedicated to Andrews. You can see 3 other defenders dedicated to this side of the field or be in the middle of the field, free safety. This is the read man, so just do the math. We've dedicated 4 players, Lamar, plus the 3 guys running routes down here, whereas they've dedicated a free, a safety, a corner, a linebacker, Oluwakin, a read man, and then this would be a 6th guy. Now, I get to be Monday afternoon or Wednesday evening quarterback with this, sorry, but what I'm trying to explain how I think this can be a powerful scheme. That's a 6th player, and he's going to be late. And we have a guy who's going to be able to block him in Patrick McCarry. Don't have the end zone angle, but I'll slow it down, let you see the blocking. Again, McCarry combos the D tackle. And then you can see he's boxing, waiting for the ball to possibly be thrown and or handed off. He doesn't want to get too far upfield because we've had that called on us twice. And, this is a gray zone here. He could be called on it. But this linebacker, if Lamar handed it off, would be the guy who would pursue. And again, he's the 6th player away from the football. This is a huge gain if we give it. I'm not saying, Lamar messed up the read. I don't care, man. Like, you get caught up in all that stuff if you want. I'm saying that this concept offers something for us with the personnel that we have. And it doesn't have to be just that same formation all the time. I think it's a great concept against these quarters, split field coverage teams that don't want to roll anyone down on motion. And that, they slide the second level people over, but they're not really interested in covering anything horizontally, especially out in the flats, quickly. Quick game stuff to the flats is the weakness of the Bengals and the weakness of the Bills. This is easy. It ends up being, a loss of 5 because Falele is downfield. So there's got to be a way to mitigate that because Moses got called for a big one against the Saints as well. I think it was Moses. Could be a big run play here, to be real. Same concept. You get a kick out by Linderbaum. You get a wrap here. And I'm not sure what the read should be. We're not here to second guess Lamar on the read. I'm saying to you that even though this is a right-handed football play, even though we kind of give away our intentions by, Andrews being lined up in the slot, we can get our run game accomplished without Ricard on the field. I think this is a very specific example of it. There are some people who say those things, but then don't give examples of them. So what I'm trying to do right now is give those people power to speak up and maybe share this as a link if you want to. Hey, there are ways that we could get our run game going out of 12 personnel, even if one of those guys is Isaiah Likely or Charlie Kolar or Josh Oliver. The previous formation was different. We had Prochet going in motion from left to right. This is Duve. Can still get the same thing accomplished. Same route by Andrews. A wheel by Duvernay, who was the guy in motion, which is the same route I talked about with Prochet last time. And then Likely running, this little in cut here. Could have very easily been, we can get 6-7 yards on this consistently against the Bills, the Bengals, and some of the other split field. The Panthers, I think, would have been one as well. Be able to get some yards because of the style of defense they were playing. If this is the read man, sometimes you get the guy gives you a muddy read. He doesn't give you a clear read. It just depends on how it's taught. You give it unless he violently comes down the line. That's one way to teach it. All right. So then this will be a give if that's the way you're teaching it. You keep it unless he, comes upfield or flares out with the tight end. Keep it meaning you throw it to Mark Andrews. All right. It just depends on how it's being taught, the language that it's being taught with, how they're giving him the read. You do this unless. That's typically how the option is taught in my experience. All right. This was early in Demarcus Robinson, being with the Ravens. He's up top. We're doing this out of trips now. Still an RPO. Judon's going to be the read man. I think Andrews is like fussing, like, why haven't we snapped the ball? I think he's even pointing at the play clock. But you see, Likely is running underneath. Judon is the read man. And we shovel it to Likely for like an 8-yard gain. So not the same concept in that we don't have Andrews attached to the right tackle, running out into the flats. And then the guy in motion, running a wheel along with, a little in cut by the number one receiver. Because we only have 2 receivers now. The third guy is Likely underneath to the flats. The guy in motion ran the wheel again. Looks like you got a little angled hook or a stop. 8-yard gain. So there's offense to be built off of it. I think sometimes we go away from successful concepts. It's very rare to me for us to, I'll give away my age a little bit here. It's very rare for us to run concepts so much that we just play them out. Like meaning, we run something too much. Against the Panthers, we ran that draw a lot. We ran a lot of zone and stretch against the Bucs in the second half. In 2021 against the Chiefs, we ran a crap ton of pistol option because they had no clue how to stop it, right? Particularly at Chris Jones on the right side. But there's got to be others that I'm forgetting clearly. All right, this is a great job by Andrews too, like getting the block at the second level. He's running a route. Once the ball's given, you can block downfield once the ball is shoveled. Other than those 3 games, me personally, I'm struggling to remember concepts that we played out and we ran over and over and over again. I'm sure that there's others, and you guys probably remember some. All right, so we've been talking about horizontal stretch, right? And then the wheel. I really love this play. I mentioned it in 2 other videos because Prochet is not running the wheel. If we hold on to the football for an instant, if we don't want to throw it to Deshaun Jackson, we've got this little in cut by Prochet who's not running the wheel now. So track him right here, and then we'll talk about, Deshaun Jackson offering us some downfield vertical threat. I love the concept. Gives Lamar multiple options. Sometimes it's not the counter wind back. Sometimes it's just zone. So watch all these guys stepping this way. And I think it's Moses who works up to the second level and gets downfield. So it's a good call. Look, in my younger days as a defensive coach, I got pissed off at the RPO stuff because they were letting people get downfield. There was one year, I forget what year it was, Nick Saban, I think, went to the Refs Association or something like that and advocated for them to allow linemen to be like 3 yards downfield. And if you tell high school refs to let linemen be like 2, or it might not have been 3 yards downfield, it might have been 2. If you tell them 2, it's going to turn into 4. If you tell them 1, it's going to turn into 3. And I said that at the refs meeting in the beginning of the season. It's a great concept. You can run it with the counter wind back where we pull one guy and wrap the other. We've shown that multiple times. You can run it with the zone. You could tell that it's a possibility of a run concept on the backside, a real run read because we're blocking with the X. I think we've got to get Demarcus Robinson or Deshaun Jackson back here on this away from, I know that would mean they would be to the run side if it's given, and those guys aren't known as great blockers. But to give us a little bit more of a threat on that backside than what Duve has been giving us lately. Great throw, great catch by Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, Morgan Moses is downfield and gets called for it. All right, the back is on the side of Lamar, so I would call this B gun because whenever we had heavy, meaning 2 tight ends, now that's Ricard up there, so this is 22 personnel. So you can still get this done from 22 personnel, don't get me wrong, conceptually. Got to send someone in motion. Andrews out into the flats. A seam this time by the motion man. Why? Because it's a tight end. They're not going to run him on a wheel. It's too far. It's a little bit more lumbering, obviously, than Prochet or Duve. So they're getting a clear out route here, up the seam, and then Andrews does his little fake step, and then out into the flats. 7-yard gain. This is like stealing money. It's easy. The Bengals they want you to throw it into the flats quick. That's what they want. Now, the thing that I would offer is, I want to see us do this with Duve, or I want to see us do this with Demarcus Robinson and throw it out there to him in the flats. Don't give it away by having a tight end out here, though. You know what I mean? Got to have somebody out there who can go stalk block this corner, make this guy and this guy come downhill now. Do that a couple of times. Come back to it later on when you're getting some kind of movement from these guys, even if it's just lateral movement, and check X post, to a receiver on the backside. I think that there's more offense here than we're showing. It seems like we're just doing the run play away, and there is a very clear run look here. You see the right guard, right tackle pulling. And then Ricard is going to block the inside linebacker. So if this was a give, is there a possibility it's a decent gain? I mean, 4 or 5 yard gain, but you got to unblock safety. We'll be able to get to the football. If he's reading this DN, should be a give read. I think sometimes it's predetermined on these RPOs because we want to get the ball out in the flats. We understand that when we've got the wide side of the field, here's the ball. So this is the wide side. That's the boundary or the short side up there that we want to attack it to the field. And the Bengals are going to give you this. The Bills are going to give you this. The Panthers gave us this as well, I thought, with some of those softer coverages. All right, this is the 4th and 3 in week 5. Clearly not the same backfield formation because now you've got the tight end under center and then Lamar and the running back next to each other. But it's very similar routes. Remember I said I wanted to see the guy in motion run out in the flats? That's what we had here. Now, it was Andrews, right? It confused the Bengals. I think I said it with the last play. I want to see Demarcus Robinson or Prochet or whoever run out in the flats and them get the football. A now route, meaning throw it out there right now. Sometimes we call it a shoot route, whatever, flat route, whatever you want to call it. Throw it out there. Throw it out there, get it out there. Not necessarily in this equation, but my point is we've shown a little bit of variability. Andrews normally lined up here. He was under center and then just motions out. Same concept. We got a second tight end in the game, and then Tyler Wallace is the target. The ball's overthrown or whatever. I really don't care. If you want to argue about it, still argue about it. Doesn't matter. We didn't complete the pass. I think this concept has more to offer than we have used or utilized so far. When we do the motion to our left, the RPO is going to be more difficult to accomplish. Probably would have to be predetermined. It's other plays that could be off of it. Obviously, here's Prochet. He's going to motion across. So the run concept, would be coming back here with the counter wind back. You'd be pulling the left guard and, wrapping the tackle. Or depending on the alignment, we might be pulling the center and kicking and then pulling the tackle and wrapping. So we can still get that accomplished in terms of Lamar opening, to his left, the motion going to his left. It might need to be predetermined, or it might limit the options of who we could throw to because he'd have to turn his hips. But you see the way we get this done. He opened the other way for the screen, which we don't get many yards out of. Watch Lamar. He opens to his right. Right, so it's definitely not an RPO. If you're reading anything as a defensive, player, edge player, linebacker, whatever, if Lamar opens opposite that motion, it's probably not going to be an RPO for the Ravens playbook as it stands in 2022. Let me know what you think of the pistol RPO. I think they've figured out ways to, they being the Ravens, they've figured out ways to make it a little more dangerous than most of us would presume. I never really was scared by pistol RPOs, for real. Just because of the lack of space between the threats of the run threat or the quarterback keeping it. Typically because the running back was on the side of the quarterback for most RPOs. So he was running away from the defensive end who's unblocked, okay? He was literally on the same side as that defensive end and then running away from him, crossing the quarterback's face. In the pistol, the Ravens have mitigated that. The Ravens have, quote, solved that issue by the counter wind back or the zone wind back. So I like that. That's a good thing. I think we should, instead of seeing this, and this is just a guess, guys, instead of seeing this concept once or twice a week, maybe, I think we should see it 3 or 4 and then see how teams respond. To me, it seems like we have a whole bunch of plays that we run 1 or twice each a week instead of like, we're going to run this crap right here until you stop it. And when I say stop it, I mean teams like the Bengals and the Bills force them to roll somebody up in the flat on that motion because they don't want to do that. They want to stay in their split field or quarters or whatever you want to call it, two read, whatever the split field calls are, the half field calls are. They want to stay in those things because that's what they practice every day, and their players are very intelligent. In my opinion, we've got to take the flat stuff more. It helps Lamar. It helps Lamar get in a rhythm. It helps Lamar statistically, which really doesn't matter, and I don't think he cares about, but we as fans kind of do. Instead of seeing him 16 for 32, we would have loved to have seen him be 24 or 25 for 32, and he could have been close to that. I feel like this play concept could be advanced upon, and we could use it a little more frequently to kind of open up the pass game, open up the horizontal stretch, and then pick and choose when we want to stretch people vertically out of that first formation, first 2 or 3 formations that I showed you. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts with this. I've probably done this video from a foundational standpoint like 3 times in the last 2 years, meaning 2021, 2022, advocating for more RPO stuff. This one seems to have a little bit more traction for our coaches now. We have kind of walked away from the other RPO concept that we utilized, and I'll show you that real quick. For good reason. It's become entirely predictable, and I'll show you how predictable here. This is last week against Carolina. The back is on this side, so I'm talking about the RPO where Ricard goes out in the flats, we throw it to Duve, and we've got a tight end and Ricard, or maybe 2 tight ends blocking. It has been effective for us, don't get me wrong. The back has to cross face, like I said. This ends up being a tackle for loss. Look, no matter what Lamar reads here, he's wrong. Back this up just a little bit. All right, he gave this to Drake. If he's reading the DN, Brian Burns, it should be a keep read. But I'm not saying he read it wrong. Keep listening. Watch what he do with Frankie Lavu. He goes upfield. Take a guess who you think he's assigned to go get. Lamar. Watch Shaq Thompson on the motion. Take a guess who you think he's assigned to go get. Duve. Guess what this is? I don't know your familiarity with option concepts. This is pitch. This is quarterback. Now, if you don't, if you have no familiarity with option concepts, maybe I can do a video at some point. And then this right here, this player, Burns, this is dive. School that I was a part of for years was an option team and option playbooks and option coaches, and some of the people who played for those option coaches stuck around, so those concepts were kind of like ingrained in them. And that was one of the first things I learned as a defense coordinator, is like you got to have somebody assigned to dive, somebody assigned to quarterback, somebody assigned to pitch. If the team does run option, but that's got to be a week 1 install for your defense, and that's all this is. Teams have figured this out from the standpoint of when and where we do this. Well, we do this with bunch A. Bunch on the side of the back, but it's not tight bunch. When it's tight bunch A, there's not enough space between, the running back going this way and the bunch. I'm talking about if Andrews was here, Ricard was here, and Duve was here. There's not enough space moving this way by Duve, the guy who's getting the football, or the running back who's going in the opposite direction. So they just widen the bunch up. So bunch right A actually has 2 iterations for the Ravens offense. It's got one where the bunch guys are at the points or vertices of these triangles. I think I used that word right. And then the second iteration of bunch right A has a wider bunch like this, and it really has 2 plays. What's the third play we got to run here? Come on, man. It should be obvious. You got a corner, you got a safety, you got another safety, inside backer. Frankie Lavu is a hybrid outside linebacker, inside linebacker. Really love his game. Well, we got to run. We got to run something back here. And we got the guys who can do it. We got DeMarcus Robinson. He gave them hell that week. And, even Deshaun Jackson, to be honest with you. We are seeing a lot of corners play off on Deshaun Jackson because they don't want to give up a long touchdown to a 36-year-old. Well, they damn near did this week. In my opinion, if we're going to run this set right here, we've got to attack backside a little more. said that many times. I don't think we really have done it enough. This video went on a little longer, so my apologies. I generally want to keep some of these to 12, 15 minutes. But it's a cool concept, one that I have a lot of familiarity with because it caused me problems trying to game prep in high school as a defensive coordinator. And I think we can cause a whole heck of a lot of problems for NFL defenses with Lamar Jackson's ball skills, ability to read so many different things and adjust. And oh, by the way, if none of the other options are available, Lamar, you can keep the football and you can take off. Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comment section.